and when you need it.
I really wish there was one, because the way these invoices grow legs and disappear.
I believe this is what you're looking for.
Now how did it get there?
Tabo! Do you know that with Efris, you can stay on track of all your business transactions and improve on your record keeping?
How so?
Kati tuliku computer with Efris. I just search using the fiscal document number and I retrieve the records I'm looking for. Bookkeeping becomes simple after that.
Kapo, awesome, yeah.
I began using URS Kakasa Solutions and now I'm in charge of my business, and you can as well.
Kakasa, be sure you are in charge of your business.
Uganda Revenue Authority, developing Uganda together. Uganda Revenue Authority, developing Uganda together.
Viewers, listeners, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to today's webinar where we are focusing on the journey to become an AEO. My name is Penina Chirunji. I work in the customs department and I lead a team that is implementing the AEO program. Welcome. Our Facebook page, YouTube, Twitter, and Zoom are active. Please interact. Please open up and listen. I would like to welcome our panelists today, and I will ask each of them to introduce themselves. And I will start from the ladies. I think it's always prudent to start with the ladies. I will start with Priscilla. Please introduce yourself.
Good morning, viewers. My name is Karungi Priscilla. I also work with the Uganda Revenue Authority and the Customs Department, Customs Audit, and also part of the team that is handling the AEO program. I'm also a WCO accredited expert as a technical advisor on issues to do with AEO. I also run as a member of the EAC AEO Technical Working Group. Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you very much, Priscilla. That was an elaborate introduction. Priscilla is one of the senior members in the AEO unit, and she's been together with me recently accredited as operational and technical advisors on AEO matters. I will ask Florence to introduce herself. Florence, you're welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, our esteemed viewers and listeners. My name is Florence Babirie. I work with Truline Africa Limited. It's a freight forwarding and logistics company, and I work under the operations department. I'm the projects manager, and I handle quite a number of projects within the organization, part of which was the AEO accreditation. So I've been the focal person representing Truline Africa in the AEO accreditation process. Glad to be here.
Thank you very much, Florence. Truline Africa is one of the companies that has come on board in the recent accreditation, and we welcome you, and we have a lot of expectation as a strategic partner. Let me welcome the gentleman and the only bull in the studio. Charles, please introduce yourself. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, viewers. My name is Charles Romanik Gafausa. I'm the manager, Customs Audit, WCO accredited technical and operational advisor the PCA, and also I support the AO program both at the national level, regional level, including border operations, especially coordinated border management, OSBP. Thank you very much and hope to enjoy this engagement.
Thank you very much, Charles. Today we are looking at the journey to become an AEO, and as we are aware, we've had numerous engagements and webinars on AEO, but today we wanted to focus on what the journey is to become an AEO. Authorized Economic Operator Program started here in 2007 after a letter of intent was signed by our commission at that time to implement the SAFE framework of standards. And the SAFE basically talks about pillars on how customs should develop cooperation. For example, Customs Uganda, working together with Customs China or Customs Kenya, and how they should cooperate in terms of professionalism, integrity, risk management, and all the other aspects. Then the SAFE also talks about customs to business partnership. This is where the AEO is introduced, and it's looking out for compliant traders who are ready to partner with revenue administrations, and then revenue administrations will accord them benefits for being compliant. The third pillar came later in 2012, and this was about regulators. For example, in Uganda, we have National Bureau of Standards, we have Drug Authority, we have Ministry of Agriculture and all its directories. How are they able to support the revenue administrations in terms of trade facilitation so that we give one seamless flow of clearing goods? So the AEO comes from the second pillar of the SAFE framework. And today we have 116 clients for which TrueLine has come on board. And my first question will go to Charles to just give us a layman's understanding of what the AEO program is and why Uganda in particular, Uganda Revenue Authority, adopted the program. Charles, please take it.
Thank you very much, Penna. I know you've talked about the three pillars of the SAFE framework, and like you mentioned, the AEO program aligns itself with the second pillar. But essentially, the AEO program is intended to support supply chain security. How can supply chain be secure from the source of goods to the end user? How can the information be secure to support the movement of goods? And how can that security facilitate international trade? By removing barriers, by facilitating those who are compliant, and by also focusing resources to manage areas that are of risk so that we can be able to enhance business, enhance development, support revenue organization. So the AEO program is essentially a guide on how we can support compliance, on how we can work with partners by building trust, and how we can also enrich ourselves from the knowledge of the partners. Specifically, why Uganda could have joined, of course, the number of reasons. First of all is the bottom line. The bottom line is economic development. You must all have heard about the Millennium Development Goals. You must all have heard about the focus of development. But you cannot develop society, you cannot eliminate poverty unless you have enhanced trade. So by the AEO program, and by why Uganda joined the AEO program, is to ensure that trade thrives, economy develops, employment is generated, and therefore we can reduce poverty. Of course, also to the realization that supply chain security controls and process should go beyond our controls, procedures generated from internal as a government agency, but also to ensure that support operators come on board to support us in enhancing compliance. So we're moving away from paradigm shift from us imposing controls, us imposing procedures, us imposing standards, but the operators who know their businesses better to be part of this process. Of course, the third one is also the resource mobilization. maybe putting better resource utilization, that we are aware that international trade is increasing, the global demand for facilitating trade is increasing, and yet our resources are becoming scarce. And it was time therefore to look out to people who know business better, to help us manage these resources by way of releasing those who are compliant to be able to govern themselves, and leave URA or any other government agencies that focus on areas that may be a problem and that we could control internally. I think those could be some of the key objectives, but of course the fundamental one is also to comply to international obligations. Uganda Customs, Uganda government signed protocols, trade facilitation agreements, WCO, Kyoto Convention, and other obligations. And part of those obligations require supporting compliance and supporting trade and removing non-tariff barriers. So these are the reasons why Uganda came on board, and we hope we shall comply with those expectations.
Thank you very much, Charles. And of course, as we all know, and you talked about the paradigm shift, the customs of the 21st century requires us to facilitate trade. We can no longer sit and think that we can afford to check every consignment that comes in. And the SAFE clearly implores us also to use risk management. And I think you said that well, that customs administrations can no longer afford to check every consignment coming in, but we have to employ risk management, and in that develop an appetite for establishing AO programs. I will go to Florence, and as a newly accredited client, what prompted you to join the program, and maybe also to just tell us what it means to you as a company.
Thank you, Penina. I'll start with what it means. AEO is an internationally acclaimed program, and the accreditation of TrueLine has actually rubber-stamped us as a reputable and secure, reliable freight forwarding and logistics company, not just nationally, but also internationally. And it has also elevated us as frontline partners with URA in enhancing compliance and securing of the supply chain. What prompted us to apply for this program? TrueLine has a core value of continuous improvement. We strive to better our processes and team resources to grow our business and fulfill our customer needs. So the program, the AEO program, was an opportunity through which TrueLine would achieve this objective, hence our expression of interest. The process was very user-friendly. There was the self-assessment form was quite, it was not as easy, but the support from the URA team was timely, and they were available for us, which made it worth the while. So that prompted us basically to apply. Also the benefits therein, we were expectant of the benefits and we wanted to enjoy them, and so yeah, we came on board.
Thank you, Florence. When you say that the process, especially filling the self-assessment form, was user-friendly, then we as a team get so much hope, because I know that the team has gone somewhere and they've been told filling that form is like going back to school. So we are happy that you found support from the team, and we want to assure listeners that soon the program processes will be automated, and then it can be that easy when you just maybe chat online and fill your form, and some of the areas on the form will be definitely shaded for the information that is already captured with us. I will go to Priscilla. Priscilla has worked for the unit for some time, and I was requesting that you take us through the authorization process and how companies like TrueLine have been able to come through.
Okay, thank you so much, Penina. First of all, when one is considering becoming an AEO, there are requirements that have to be met. One of them is you should be involved in international trade. and I can confirm TrueLine participates in international trade. The second one, you should be having a good compliance history with URA. We're not looking at only customs, but the entire URA. The third one, you should be able to connect to URA systems. We are talking about a SCUDA. It can be indirectly, maybe a clearing agent does, or directly. You should also be able to connect to eTax. Are you filing those returns on time? The other requirement, you should be financially stable. We are not talking about how much money you have on your account, but the going concern. Are you able to meet your financial obligations and continue operating? Then finally, you should be able to implement the compliancy program. The compliancy program is what we would call the Bible or the Quran in quotes for the AO program. It is a guide that in detail talks about the AO program. How should your house be organized? When we look at the process that one goes through, it begins with a company expressing interest in writing to the commissioner. We are still doing it manually, but our work is underway to have the process automated. So you write to the commissioner expressing interest in so and so, this is a company. We've been in operation over this given number of years. We handle this, maybe we are into transport or clearing, we wish to join the AO program. Once your letter is received by the commissioner, it is sent to the AO unit and it is allocated to a team that handles you. The team later on conducts what we call a preliminary consultation. A team comes to you, explain to you in detail what the program is about, what is expected of you, what is expected of URA. And after that, they give you a compliance program. They also give you a self-assessment form. Why do we give a client a self-assessment form? We believe you know your business better. So we give you that room for you to tell us what is your stand, how is your house organized. Then once we receive the self-assessment form that is filled and stamped, the application is deemed to have taken place, and then we start the internal vetting. We start asking domestic taxes. How is this company, how is TrueLine performing in regard to filing of returns? Maybe customs transactions, are they meeting the laws and procedure? Then after that, we come for the inspection. Of course, all that is information gathering about the applicant. Then we come for the inspection. We conduct an inspection based on the form that you gave us and also the information that we've gathered internally. When the inspection is done, we make a report that informs the authorization. The authorization comes with a certificate that runs for 3 years, but it is subject to renewal. Thank you so much, Ben.
Thank you, Priscilla. You've really given an elaborate process. I can also just add on the fact that the self-assessment form is called so because the program is based on truth and reliability. Because from the start we said the partnership looks out for partners, for businesses who will demonstrate a high level of compliance. So the self-assessment form is given so that you assess yourself and then submit the form to customs to make some further analysis of vetting, but it all starts with the client to assess and tell customs what you're doing, how you're doing it, who you're contracting with, and all the details. I also picked the issue of the compliance program, a detailed write-up about what a company should be. If you have been accredited for ISO certification, it is similar to what you go through under ISO in terms of organizational structure, staffing, processes, who you contract, who you deal with in terms of, say, transportation, like TrueLine is a clearing agent, but who transports your goods, where do you source them, who is involved in the forwarding, the entire supply chain should really be trusted. So that's what the AU program and what the process Priscilla was taking you through. Florence, I know that there are so many companies that have been licensed by URA as clearing and forwarding, and you are just one of them. So in terms of competitive advantage, where do you see Trueline, or what does this accreditation really mean in that regard? Thank you.
The AO accreditation has increased our visibility and reputation as an organization, and we've already started enjoying new business partnerships as a result. We have some increased volumes of business since we were accredited as AEO, and we're also experiencing priority treatment from the URA team. We have a designated customer relationship manager and other AEO team members that are addressing any challenges that we face in a timely manner. I enjoyed the designated parking this morning when I came for this webinar. Parking at URA is a challenge, but today it was a smooth transit for me. We've had also improved service delivery to our clients, where there's been a reduced turnaround time through expedited release of some of our entries. We're experiencing that now. We are also part of the AEO forum. We have an AEO forum where we get to discuss with URA the process challenges, and also have the opportunity to suggest improvement initiatives. So come on board. Come on board, please.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Florence. And when you're going through the accreditation process, I'm sure the team took you through the fact that the need for you to interest the other partners that you're working with to join the program. In that regard, the benefits are felt more than if you're a clean person in the ocean. Then how about the other players? So I'm sure you're going to recruit so many that will join the program and achieve your dream. Priscilla, you introduced yourself as a technical and advisory expert in AEO, and I know you've also worked at the region as support, sometimes supporting the implementation, the development of SOAPs and benefits. What is the linkage between national and regional programs, and what incentives are there? Maybe at the both, or if they are shared, if you can take us through that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Penina. Now, the AO program runs both on the national and the regional level. Now, what takes place at the regional level? For one to become a regional AO player, you have to first be a national AO company in a given country, and then later on you request to be progressed to the regional level. What does it mean for business? It means it gives a business a competitive advantage along the supply chain, because there are benefits that are offered in different countries. And once you are recognized as a regional AEO, you get to enjoy those country offered benefits as you do business along the EAC community. What benefits are in there for the business at the regional level? There is one benefit of priority treatment. Take an example, if Trueline now requests, after becoming an AO at national level, that they wish to become a regional AO player, that means they will get facilitated by all the EAC partner states. Kenya Revenue Authority will facilitate them, Burundi will facilitate them, and all the other regional partner states. There is also a business advantage of saving time. Once you are facilitated by all those players along the supply chain, that means you're saving time. You are reducing on the cost of doing business. There is also a benefit of being mutually recognized. We have different regulatory agencies along the EAC, but along the EAC community, meaning the Bureau of Standard in Kenya will facilitate you because they are recognized in the system, in the different systems that are of the countries that are running the AEO program. The AEOs are recognized. What more benefits are in there? You are seen as a low-risk company, so you can easily do business along the supply chain. There is also a benefit of reduced customs controls. The level of you being targeted for custom controls is reduced because they have tested your controls. They know you are a trusted trader. There is also an issue of a benefit of effective allocation of resources. This can be on the government agencies. We know the resources are limited compared to the rate at which the volume of trade is advancing. So since we have this group of clients that are trusted, their internal controls have been tested, how about we let them operate on their own and we concentrate our efforts on the other clients? There is a benefit of self-management of bonded warehouses. Yes, we offer that benefit even at the regional AO program, whereby we let a bond keeper operate on their own, and we give them customs rates as an officer to receive the goods, to do the verification, to attach the VAs. So what does that mean to a manufacturer? It means they can operate 24/7. The AO program at ESC level is also internationally recognized, and we're in the process of signing mutual recognition arrangements with different trade blocks. That means the AEOs in ESC can be recognized by China, and that means they are benefiting whenever they do business in China. The list of benefits is quite long, and it keeps growing. Thank you, Penina.
Thank you very much, Priscilla, for that linkage of the regional and national. Before I ask Charles to make a comment, I would like our viewers, our listeners to send us questions, comments. If you're in Zoom, the chat room is open, and you can send in your questions. We have a team that will be able to receive and answer. We could also answer a few. Charles, the next question. I wanted to take you from the URA to a global perspective, the organization and global perspective, respectively. Where do you see the future of the program? Having started in 2007, I mean, it's over 10 years, but there are pockets who still haven't heard or appreciated what the program is about. And if you can also shed light on the mutual recognition. Priscilla talked about the mutual recognition at the ESC level, but globally we need to know the future, where we see the program, the Ugandan program, and other programs in terms of MRA implementation. Charles, over to you.
Thank you, Penina. Maybe I'll start with what we are calling the MRA. MRA is essentially an abbreviation of mutual recognition arrangements. Mutual recognition arrangement essentially means that partner customer administrations or agencies that manage international trade cooperate to support operators who are AOs in different countries. Essentially, it's like Uganda will now cooperate with China, and every Ugandan operator who trades in China and is recognized as an operator will also be getting benefits. Uganda operates in Kenya, and every AO operator will be given benefits in Kenya. But then the MRA works on the principle of reciprocity. What you give me is what I give you. It is very common in the diplomatic circles that what Uganda gives a certain diplomat is the same benefit or rights or privileges another country gives. So we are seeing the MRAs being the driver of the AO program, essentially by way of reducing non-tariff barriers. We talked about trade at the beginning, and we're saying that AO is a driver, international trade in driver to business. So in as much as MRAs and AO is making Uganda market for imports, in as much as MRA and AO is making Uganda a supermarket for what is manufactured abroad, in the same way MRA should make other partner states supermarkets for what we produce. What does that mean? It promotes export. It encourages employment, increases employment. It boosts domestic revenue mobilization because that's an income element. It increases utilization of resources. So that's what is the DNA of an MRA. Currently, we have got MRA structured in different ways. The starting structuring process of MRA, though not presented that way, is a corporate-wide recognition of AEOs. That an operator who is an AO in customs, recognized by customs, will be recognized by domestic tax, will be recognized by TID, will be recognized by corporate services. My colleague from TrueLine mentioned about the parking, which is a benefit offered by corporate services. So you see now that corporate services is providing infrastructure for the AEO to enjoy. So that's an elementary way from an internal perspective. That if you're getting, then you get political treatment in each department. Of course, it goes to outside URA, and maybe to implement that one, we developed the AEO strategy where we made that AEO a corporate agenda, driven and coordinated by the Commissioner General so that it can be easily cascaded. There's an external part of MRA where now URA cooperates with all government agencies, Bureau of Standards, traffic, sanitary and phytosanitary, security, as long as you're an agency involved in cross-border trade. We recognize each other. There's also an MRA that Priscilla talked about that now becomes regional. In our case, we call it the regional program. It may not come out in the frame of the MRA, but in terms of the spirit of cooperation and respect. But then now the bigger MRA that is actually is cognizant of the term MRA is what we call the international MRAs. We have so far signed an MRA with China. We're working on an MRA with South Africa. At the regional level, we're working on an MRA with India. Meaning all the member states East Africa will be recognized by Indian customs. We're also working on an MRA with Korea. So this means that these markets can now be potential export centers by reducing NTBs and boosting our exports. But then for them to boost our exports, then we also need to do reciprocity, that we should also offer the benefits and respect them. And a benefit of parking is something very simple, but I can assure you, we have cross-checked around the world. It appears it's only us who have it. As Uganda. Because, and why did we do that? Is because we wanted to make sure that we changed our strategy on benefit development and said, let the operators be the one to propose the benefit. Because sometimes when you propose benefits from internal, it's your perception, and then you don't address the pain. So when we engage the operators, then they tell us, we see our problem is parking. When you park, they vandalize your car. When you park, they scratch your car. You spend 3 hours looking for parking. So you waste time, you already suffered in a jam, but then you come here and then waste another hour. So parking, which looks very simplistic, has that magnitude. It's good you have mentioned it. I think that's as far as MRA is going, and I think that is the future of AEO, that the future of AEO is bright, but that future can actually be appreciated from the current perspective. As we talk now, up to 30% of customs CIF is generated by AEOs. Up to 26% of customs collection is generated by AEOs. And these are only a number you mentioned, less than 120. So as more AEOs come on board, the bigger proportion of those will now be self-governed, supporting us generate revenue, supporting us improve compliance, increasing our efficiency in resource utilizations, and in a society that is looking at how to efficiently manage the resource, in a society that is looking at how to reduce cost of doing business. This is an area we need to leverage, and that's where the future is going. That these AEOs, who are small in number but contribute greatly in revenue collection, becomes the future. And that helps us now to exploit the Pareto principle that we talked about, 20-80 principle. That 20% of operators can support 80% of our compliance areas. 20% of operators can support 80% of the risks. 20% of operators can manage 80% of our resources. 20% of operators can manage 80% of our revenue generation. So that is the future, and any economy, any country that wants efficiency can only look at that. I think that's about the future. Okay. But then the biggest part of the future is how we manage the benefits. Because the benefits is key to how the future of AEO is sustained. As Uganda, of course, we have done a lot. And one of them is we have moved away from having benefits generated internally to having clients support them. We are moving away from having benefits stated in the statement form to having them more structured, so that every officer, every operator, every supporter of the program knows what first clearance means. Who is responsible, who is accountable, what are the payments. We have also tried to support a number of other initiatives to make sure that the benefits can help the future of the AO program. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Charles. And before I ask Priscilla to elaborate, because the issue of benefits, as you've said, is key, and that's the gist of the AO program. What is that is going to entice a company to spend resources, like TrueLine has said, to join the program? I mean, some clients are already in Blue Lane, maybe others are already being facilitated by our general customs operations, but what is that is calling for a client to invest money and implement the AO program? Before I ask Priscilla, and I also wanted to mention something on the MRAs that you talked about, maybe a few benefits of what, because we kept saying MRA, maybe to break it down to the layman's language of a mutual recognition arrangement. What is in for TrueLine if he is on the Ugandan program, which has signed an MRA with China, and he's now maybe exporting his goods to China. Maybe just to break it, that China will accord you the same. And you said that when you said reciprocity, that China will recognize the Ugandan operator and give benefits that are given to the China program. And we will also do the same. There are a few questions here, and I think it will also come to you, Charles. Thank you very much for bringing the forum. But in a quest to further expand this program, can we engage sectors through Uganda Manufacturers Association? Maybe just the highlight for this person's comfort, then Priscilla will take us through the benefits.
Yeah, thanks, Penna. And it is true that we need to engage sectors. We talked a lot about government agencies, but another arm of promoting the AO program is to engage the private sector. Uganda Manufacturers Association, Uganda Insurance Association, Private Sector Foundation, and the trading associations, because essentially this is where the businesses operate. This is where the business actually possibly in the current state have more trust and faith and comfort. So our intention is that as we finish this structuring, especially the benefit scheme, I think you can say Chris will talk about the benefit scheme. It gives us now good leverage to engage the private sector, especially the manufacturers. And it is part of our agenda for the coming financial year that we shall deliberate our efforts to engage the private sector. Uganda Manufacturers Association, Private Sector Foundation. We have so far engaged Kasita, and the chairman of USIFA, the chairman of USIFA is on board, and that is an entry to the USIFA group. So we are going to engage other clearing agents, associations, so that we can cover the broader sector of the private sector.
Okay, thank you very much. There are other questions coming in. One goes to Priscilla. Can a company which isn't a clearing firm get the AO accreditation? If yes, what is the process? Maybe I can save Priscilla for the next question. Yes, the AO program is open to all players in the supply chain, from a manufacturer to an importer, to a customs broker, to a forwarder, to a shipping line, and every other party involved in international trade, as Priscilla said in her opening remarks. And the process is more or less the same. What we can emphasize is the cooperation between the company and customs and the validators. How much time do we give each other if we have asked for evidences to support what you have stated in the self-assessment form, and how fast are you able to deliver that evidence? But otherwise, the standard time can be 30 days, it can stretch to 6 months, it can even be more than that. We have Priscilla will tell you we have some applications that we have even thought maybe we should cancel for being stagnant for a year or two. Priscilla, let's just continue the talk on benefits. How tangible should the benefits be in this perspective as a member of the AO team? What strategies has the department put in place to ensure that we deliver tangible benefits before Trueline storms out of the program for not realizing them? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Penina. Like you said, the benefits are supposed to be tangible. They are supposed to make business sense to both the regulatory agencies, URA, and the government at large. They are also supposed to make business sense to the AO themselves, because there is a lot they put in for them to become AOs. So what strategies are we taking? One of them, we've come up with a 5-year AO strategy that is helping us tackle different aspects. And among the issues that we're handling is stakeholder collaboration. How can different departments in URA work together to ensure that an AO benefits from customs, from domestic taxes? Maybe when they want a tax clearance certificate, how fast do they get it? When they want that refund from domestic taxes, how fast do they get it? So stakeholder collaboration, we're looking at it in terms of internal, within URA, and even external. We have what we call AO, National Working Group, which is a forum that brings together different players. The forum has URA representatives. It has regulatory agencies, the likes of NBS, UNBS. We have MAIF, the Ministry of Agriculture. We have representation from National Drug Authority. We are expanding on the side of the regulatory agencies. Then we also have the AOs themselves being represented in different sectors. So what does that forum do? They meet on a quarterly basis to brainstorm, to see how best can we serve the AOs, how best can we work together to achieve a common goal. Then we also have the regional AO consultative group that also brainstorms. We've also embraced the need for capacity building, embracing capacity building, because we realize that we keep on bringing on board new staff. So a lot of sensitization, a lot of trainings are taking place, both internally and externally. We also have the window opened for the AEOs suggesting benefits themselves, because we believe they know the business better than us. They know where the pains are. So the window is open for the AEOs to come up with benefits that make business sense. Then on the organizational level, URA, AEO has been embraced. Even in our KPIs, we have KPIs that touch the AEO program, increasing the number and even facilitating the companies that are AEOs. We also have issues of bringing on board other stakeholders like Ministry of Internal Affairs. Can we get benefits maybe when the AEOs are moving out of the country at the airport? Can they be facilitated? We have brought on board insurance regulatory agencies. Can we have reduced premiums for AEOs? We are also engaging the banks. Can we have any benefits that are coming from the financial areas? So a lot is being done to make the benefits tangible for all of us that are involved in the supply chain. Thank you so much, Ben.
Thank you so much, Priscilla. There's a question here. How long should a national AO player be assessed to become a regional? I think you didn't exhaust that. Maybe you can just...
Okay, thank you so much. How long does the process take? It is between 1 month and 90 days. There are companies that have come on board in as short as 1 month. That means they understood the program first, they put their house in order, and then they invited us to come and do the checks, and we bring them on board. But we also have other clients that take as long as 90 days. Those are 3 months. because it is a check that involves different stakeholders. We have input from domestic taxes, we have input from tax investigation. We do a check in all the areas that touch their client's operation. So it is possible for one to come on board within 1 month, and it is also possible for one to come on board within 3 months. But we've had a challenge of some clients taking even more than 3 months, and at times it leads to cancellation of the application. But what is important is for you to understand the requirements as you're coming on board. What is needed? How should I organize my house? So that by the time the team comes to do a check on you, you have everything in order. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Priscilla. I think you skipped the part of coming from national program to regional program. I think it's 1 year.
Yeah, the coming from national program to regional program, it is 1 year. After 1 year, if you have participated in the national AO program, you can come out voluntarily. It is also not a forced approach. You have to express interest that you wish to join the regional program.
Thank you very much. There is a question on how much money is required to become an AO program, and I can just say that the program is free, and it's a voluntary program. You assess yourself if you're sure you're compliant or you want to join. You may not be compliant right now, but if you desire to be compliant, because what is the purpose of non-compliance? It comes with so many disadvantages, enforcement, pouncing on you, and all those issues that come along. But if you desire to become compliant, you express interest and join the AO program. The journey will start with the processes that Priscilla took us through, and we always say we look at the 3 years compliance history. So if in the last 3 years you are sure you're compliant, then you are free to join the program. There is no money involved. I guess maybe this question is hinged on the financial solvency. Priscilla talked about the financial solvency, the going concern, but not how much money the company has invested. As long as the check, the validators will find out that you're able to pay your tax obligation, then you are good to join the program. There's a question, maybe I can give it to Charles. What is the requirement to have the AO certificate renewed? Renewal of AO certificate.
Thank you, Penina. The requirement to have an AO certificate renewed, maybe for starters, the AO certificates are renewed once in every 3 years. That when you get a certificate, you can operate with that certificate for a period of 3 years. And after 3 years, then you go to a process of revalidation, reconfirmation that you are, first of all, you are interested. So that's one requirement. Are you still interested to continue with the program after 3 years, or you want to withdraw? So the assumption now is that you're interested. That's why you want the requirements. The second requirement is now looking at how you have complied with originally the authorization criteria. Are you still involved in international trade? And then the qualification criteria, which Priscilla talked about. Are you still compliant? Are you still solvent? Are your governance structures good? Haven't you got any element of fraud or abuse of office? So if those criteria that the team used at the beginning of the process are still valid, then you qualify. So what that one takes that at the end of every third year, we do something similar to an audit. But it's an audit to confirm that the terms and conditions under which you join the program are still compliant. But we are now also changing because of the numbers and strategy that we are now trying to change the strategy that we don't have to come at the end of the third year. We now want to do what we call an M&A. That every month, regularly, you are in touch with your client relationship person who assesses your performance and helps you improve where the gaps are. So that if, for example, the areas of risk or the areas of compliance or the areas of interest are about 6 or 7, and every cycle, every month or every quarter, we engage us and we address those areas. At the third year, we may not need to take you through the whole audit program, and then we automatically authorize you. So we are changing the strategy now to make it more efficient, to make it more friendly, but essentially the requirement is you must still be compliant, you must still be willing, to continue the program and must support us to work together.
Thank you very much, Charles. Maybe there's another question coming in, but I wanted also to make a comment on the reassessments. Where the world has taken us and the new normal will require some of the reassessments to be done virtually. And this means that we can set up a Zoom and face a company and do reassessment of what we went through at pre-authorization and now we are trying to renew. But that will also depend on how compliant the client has been and how your relationship with your client relationship is, and what we are seeing in the system as compliance checks. Then we are able to do a quick validation virtually and give you a certificate back. If a company, it also depends on the type of company. If it's complex and it has so many mixed goods, then a virtual environment might not come through. There's a question here. We are a public goods bond and have put in our application, and we are informed that your team are carrying out a survey on how to bring on board public goods bonded warehouses. Could we know when to expect feedback on the same? Priscilla, you can answer this.
Okay, thank you so much, Penina. Maybe I'll hand a bit of that and you'll add something. Currently, the self-management of bonded warehouse benefit is only being offered to private bonded warehouses. Maybe I can use an example of Roofings Limited that keeps for the group. Maybe the other example can be Nice House of Plastics that keeps for the group. That is the Nice House of Plastic, Uganda Batteries, and Jessa Farm Diaries. So the benefit is not yet extended, or the initiative is not yet extended to the general goods bond. But work is underway to have it tested, whether we can extend it to the general goods bond. And if it is successful, we'll open our doors to receive application. So once the pilot is done, we'll let you know. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Priscilla. Well, just to add on the private and general bonds, we started according the benefit of self-management to private bonds for a reason that private bonded warehouses were posing a low risk to customs. And because giving this benefit means taking away the mandate of customs and giving it to the operator, if the general bonded warehouse can demonstrate compliance to that level, that you have mixed cargo coming from Trueline, from every other company, and you're warehousing for them as a general bond, but you have internal controls, you have systems, and the risk is assessed and found to be low, then what Priscilla is saying is that we will accord the benefit of self-management to general bonded warehouses. But in the meantime, it is left in the private space, in the private owned bonds. Charles, maybe there's another question here on what strategy does URA have to ensure that other regulators like UNBS support the AEO, because AEOs feel that this is one of the AEOs, they feel that they are recognized really well in URA, but the other regulators have not demonstrated that recognition. What do you have to say?
Thank you, Penna. Other regulators, maybe other people call them partner government agencies, UNBS, sanitary and phytosanitary, security, and possibly even immigration, because the AU is about transport of goods, transport of information, and transport of persons. That's the whole party. We have not yet put all of them on board, and our intention was that we could bring them on board in a more structured way. Like we talked at the beginning, the AU is based on the principle of risk management. So the first step we're having is to have a common understanding with all these partner government agencies on the concept of risk as far as supply chain security is concerned, so that if you have a common understanding of supply chain risk, then it is easy for us to interpret them the same way. So far we're engaging UNBS, we're also engaging Ministry of Agriculture because they are part of our national AO working group, and that is a foundation for us to have a common understanding, because sometimes we have issues because we don't understand the partner's business and he does not understand the partner's business. So one step is forming a national AO working group. We have got UNBS on board, we have got agriculture on board, and along the way start a process of understanding business and standardizing interventions. Another area is now what is now being solved by the single window. Because for you to support AEO, the concept of IT must be well entrenched. We realize that most government agencies had single IT systems, standalone IT systems. And for you to support an AEO, you must have an identifier which is recognized. So as we are rolling out the single window, it becomes easier for all partner government agencies to look at the AEO and be able to support. And then another intervention is now developing standards, because those standards is what we shall put in what we call the service level agreement, so that we can do the concept of reciprocity, because the partner government agency is another localized way of MRA. So if we have the benefit risk management agreed upon, if we roll out IT now that single window is helping us do it, if we have standards, and then have a service level agreement so that we can now know how to, first of all, treat AOs that are accepted. But second and most important is also to encourage these partner government agencies to recommend, because the identification of AO should not be a monopoly of customs. So a partner government agency that is controlling international trade can support us identify an AO. So a salient understanding there is that they will help us identify the compliant operators. We validate these together and bring them on board. So we are trying to implement that roadmap, but it will be centered on risk management, rollout of IT infrastructure, understanding each other's benefits, and then also implementing the concept of mutual recognition in terms of reciprocity.
Thank you very much, Charles. As we come to the end, before I ask each of you maybe for your closing remark or parting shot, there's a question here. What should the AO clearance time be? And I will give it to Charles as well. But the question goes to say, lately the AUOs are experiencing some delays. But I wish in your discussion, maybe you bring up even the quality of documents they are touching, or what these queries, why the queries are coming up, and then we will close. But I will encourage the public to continue sending your questions so that even after the webinar we can still answer and share some of the information. Thank you.
Principally, thanks Penna and the colleagues. Principally, the AO clearance time should be better than the time for a non-AO. That is the principle. If the clearance time for another person is 10 days, then the AO clearance time should be much less, maybe 1 day. If the clearance time for a non-AO is 6 hours, then the one for AEO should be 1 or 2 hours. Now, what have we done again to implement that? That we have configured the system that every AEO will be running on a blue lane channel. You capture the entry, you pay taxes, it is auto-assessed, auto-released. So the system is the one determining the clearance time. But however, because of the principle of risk management, there are selective interventions we do. Maybe 10% of the interventions, maybe 2% of the interventions, which are now selected either to green, no, either to yellow or to red, for purpose of validating. Remember we talked about compliance assessment. In as much as we have let authority to operate, we do regular interventions, so that we can now confirm that yes, this client is consistent and compliant. And the principle is, for example, if we say for starters, 10% will be intervened to either yellow or red, and we find no problem, then we reduce the intervention to 5%. We continuously reduce the intervention to 0%. or maybe the frequency of that intervention. If it's going to be every week, every day, maybe it moves to once a month or once a quarter. However, if we intervene and find a challenge, then the intervention rate or the intervention scope expands. So I think that will determine the clearance time. However, that one also calls for cooperation. Of course, cooperation from us as officers of government to be able to appreciate this principle, and that's what we are passing on internally and externally, but then also calls for support from AE operators, especially on a few areas that cause us trouble. One of them is query response time. If, for example, they query you on Monday and you respond on Thursday afternoon and you become very, very agitated, you can imagine you've already lost 5 days. So if you submit documents and you don't attach, if you submit a declaration and you don't attach supporting documents and the system queries you and by bad luck we find that problem, then you are taken another category. So I think the principle is that AO clearance time should be less than the others. Our commitment was, I think, 2 hours. 2 hours at a time. So for those who have actually been compliant, it has been 2 hours. For those who have followed the principle of auto-selection, auto-release, it is 2 hours. Now the only delay possibly comes in at exit. Sometimes we do auto-selection, auto-release, but then you take long to exit. So when I'm assessing clearance time, the total clearance time seems to be big, but when you segment it, you realize that it is either at query response time, it is at possible query action time, it is also post-release. So I think it is something we shall discuss in detail at another level to understand our responsibilities and our role. But to answer your question specifically, that AO clearance time should be best, lower than any other, and our commitment until today should be 2 hours for all declarations that are compliant. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Charles. And I think that was...
Sorry.
Yes.
Whereas actually have made AO clearance time 2 hours as a minimum standards. We have seen those who have been released in 30 minutes. We have seen close to 40–50% that have been released in about 20 minutes. Because it is system generated, auto-assessed, auto-selection, auto-release. So that one is sometimes takes as little as 5 minutes, 2 minutes, because it works. So we have actually seen those way below the 2 hours we have committed. We have seen others way above the 2 hours we have committed, and our commitment is that we focus on those ones who are beyond the 2 hours and work together and understand their problems, understand their challenges, and we also encourage them to feel free to come to us when there are issues, and also use their client relationship managers and help too.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Charles. I think that was elaborate. The clearance time is a KPI for all of us in the department, and it shouldn't be seen that AEOs are clearing in much more time than non-AEOs, otherwise the program will make no meaning. Before we give our parting shots, I wanted to ask the clients, the viewers, especially those who want to join the AEO program and those who are already, the ones who are already AEOs, there is a lot of time spent between lodgement and payment, as Charles said, and release to exit. And this impacts on the clearance time when it's being measured. So we need to go back and, like you said, draw operational lines. Then for clients who want to join, please come to the mezzanine floor, customs audit. That's where the AO is domiciled, and have a discussion with the team to have the details of the program, because there are so many other benefits that we have not said here. Florence, as your parting shots to the public and to the clients who want to join, what is this that you can tell them, the reason they should join AEO program? Or maybe your own parting shot.
Thank you, Penina. I want to take this opportunity to thank URA for this opportunity for us to come in and be contributors to this webinar. And having applied and succeeded in this program, I encourage all supply chain stakeholders to really come on board. We've been accredited over 2 weeks now, and we've already started experiencing some of the benefits. Of course, our renewal is assured, our license renewal is assured. We are having also expedited release of some of our entries. At least I've had that submission from our declarations team. And then it also gives us opportunity to be frontline partners in enhancing revenue collection through promoting compliance and security in the supply chain. And then it also gives you the opportunity to have that direct continuous engagement with URA in addressing the customs challenges and also contributing suggestions in the establishment of the improvement initiatives. So I really ask all those that are yet to come on board, give it a shot. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Florence. And we want to appreciate you, especially when you present yourself as a frontline and a strategic partner, because we've talked about the program, but in relation to the targets that we have to collect to make our country independent, economically independent, our eyes are on you as an accredited operator, both importers and agents. If we are looking in for quick money that will come in hassle-free, and I think Charles highlighted, if we take the rule is Pareto rule, that if we can get 80% of revenue that we are looking for in a hassle-free environment brought in by AEOs, then we will spend our resources, the little resources we have, to enforce on the other 20. And that, I think, is where we want to be. Priscilla, you can give us your parting shots as well.
Okay, thank you so much, Penna. From my side, I can only give assurance that AEO program is a very beautiful journey that is worth undertaking. And yes, there are challenges that might be faced, but there is always work that is being done at any given time. There is work that is being done on us ensuring that we serve you better. And finally, maybe one key area that I look at as very important to making the AEO program better is stakeholder collaboration. You can't run away from that, because URA will support you, but then maybe UNBS is still tagging your items, your goods. So stakeholder collaboration internally, externally, with even you as our esteemed clients, the AEOs, is very important. So let's continue working together. We'll definitely make the supply chain very secure and very beautiful for all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Priscilla. And Priscilla is one of the validators. When you assure the client of quick processing, I know that you mean it. So companies can come, and in the next month, in November, they are already AEOs. You join October, and November, you're already an accredited AEO. Charles, please give us your parting shots.
Thank you, Penna. I think my parting shot will be calling upon us as staff of URA, us as government agencies and operators, us as the business community, that the new dawn has come. We've been talking about customs of the 21st century that is intended to make customs be a driver of trade by removing as much, or if not all, non-tariff barriers. Because when we boost trade, when we remove non-tariff barriers, we promote trade, we create economic activity, we promote domestic revenue mobilization. Because every trader that pays once at an import level pays more in domestic tax, generates more income through value addition, through employment, through resource utilization. So I think that the dawn for us to appreciate and experience the direction of the customs of the 21st century has come, to make customs promote domestic revenue mobilization, to make AEO program recognize the role of the operators to manage compliance, to manage business, to manage efficiency. The dawn has come for us, touching base to the elusive principle, Pareto principle, that 20% of operators must give us 80% of our benefits. And then, like Priscilla said, it's a time for us to operate. It's time for us to operate. It is time for us to respect the AEO operators, because they know this business better. We cannot pretend to be in this boardroom and we think we know their business. So the time for perception is now going. The time for perception is going to history. That if we are getting operators that are willing to come on board, let us learn from them, let us respect them, let us promote them. Because it will be them that will drive our brand and the program. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dear viewers and listeners, thank you so much for participating in today's webinar, which took us through the journey of becoming an AEO. And we would like to encourage you to apply and join the program. You've had a series of benefits, but it's a growing list. Today we have said 10, but in the next month we have to think of new benefits. And it's also an advantage that you can think of your own benefits that are peculiar to your business and suggest them to management of URA, which will be designed into benefits, again, to facilitate you. The whole bottom line is to facilitate trade, like Charles has said. And so the program is here to facilitate and make sure that you really compete in this economy and do much better than if you weren't facilitated. I would like to thank the team that has made the webinar happen, and we wish you all a very blessed day. Thank you.
Uganda Revenue Authority, developing Uganda together. Uganda Revenue Authority, developing Uganda together. Uganda Revenue Authority.